Welcome to HD Rare Coins, your ultimate source for rare coins, fascinating history, and the thrill of discovery. From legendary pennies to hidden gems, we explore the world of numismatics one amazing coin at a time. It began the way most coin stories do, not in a grand hall or museum vault, but in the soft jingle of change falling onto a countertop in a gas station on a rainy afternoon in 1995. The man who dropped the coins into his palm didn't notice anything special. He handed them over, took his receipt, and stepped out into the downpour. And yet, among that change, nestled between dull pennies and a bent dime, was a 5-cent piece that would go on to write its own quiet chapter in American numismatic history. It was a nickel. A 1995 P-dot plain. Simple. Jefferson's stern face on the obverse. Monticello, still and proud, on the reverse. To anyone else, it was worth 5 cents. To the right pair of eyes, it would one day be worth more than a house, but that story wouldn't be told for years. The 1995 P. Jefferson Nickel came into the world at an unremarkable time. The economy was stable. Bill Clinton was in his first term. The internet was still dial-up. And the U.S. Mint was pushing out billions of coins to meet the everyday demands of commerce. The Philadelphia Mint, as usual, bore the brunt of the production load. That year, they would strike over 776 million Jefferson Nickels alone. So what made one coin from that colossal sea of metal so different? Maybe it started with the dies. The mint was modernizing, experimenting with press pressure, strike counts, and die preparation techniques. Somewhere in the flurry of production, a batch of nickels rolled off the press with details so sharp, so glassy in luster, that they looked like proofs. These were business strikes, meant for pockets and drawers, but struck with such precision that they became accidental masterpieces. One of those coins ended up in the hands of a part-time collector named Benjamin Rowe. He was a security guard in Pittsburgh. At night, while the city slept, he'd roll coins for fun, searching for wheat pennies and silver dimes. One shift, while eating lunch in the break room, he pulled a 1995 nickel from a coin roll that nearly blinded him under the fluorescent lights. The detail on Jefferson's hair. The deep grooves on the steps of Monticello. The satin-like luster. It looked uncirculated, no, better than uncirculated. It looked like perfection. He sent it into NGC, the result, MS685FS, full steps. The full steps designation meant that all the steps on Monticello's staircase were struck cleanly, a near miracle in nickel production, where worn dies and weak strikes usually soften those details. Only a handful of coins ever reached this level. The grade meant it was among the best-known 1995 P nickels in existence. It sold $4.14, 200. And that was only the beginning. The hunt was on. Collectors across the country began to revisit their bags of nickels, scanning them under LED lights, squinting at Monticello's steps, inspecting every corner of Jefferson's cheek and jaw. They were looking for sharp strikes, die varieties, planchet errors, anything that might elevate the common to the exceptional, and they found them. In Iowa, a retired postal worker named Louise Grant discovered a broad-struck 1995 P, a coin struck without the collar die, resulting in a flared edge and distorted rim. It looked like the coin had melted outward under pressure, though all the design details remained crisp. She sold at $4.2, 800. In Nevada, a bank teller named Marcus encountered a double-struck 1995 P, with Jefferson's face duplicated at a slight rotation, creating a surreal, ghostly appearance. Graded MS63, it fetched $6,750 at a coin show in Reno, but the most mysterious find came not from a roll or a register, but from deep storage. In 2023, a sealed box of mint sets from 1995 was discovered in a locked filing cabinet at a defunct coin shop in Hartford, Connecticut. The shop's owner had died 10 years earlier. His grandson, now liquidating the estate, opened the cabinet expecting old invoices. Instead, he found 22 untouched 1995 mint sets. Most were typical, solid, unremarkable. But 2 of the nickels were unlike anything seen before: the luster, the color, the flawless strike. Both were graded MS69, 6FS, with 6 full, uninterrupted steps on Monticello's reverse. There had never been another example at that level. Not one that they were sent to auction that in a tense bidding war between a Florida investor and a Japanese numismatist, the final hammer price reached $132,000, the highest ever paid for a 1995 Jefferson Nickel. The grandson used the money to open his own comic book and collectible store that he named it, 5 Steps to Fortune. Because sometimes, 5 steps on a tiny building stamped onto a nickel can change your life, the stories kept rolling in. A college student in Portland found a proof-like strike while sorting coins for a TikTok video. It went viral. A Montana woman used a die-clash error nickel to pay off her medical bills. A military vet in Texas framed his perfect MS-67 as a reminder of discipline and attention to detail, and yet, thousands more 1995 nickels remain out there, hiding in jars, bank bags, and forgotten drawers. Waiting. Unnoticed. Until someone stops, looks closer, and sees the perfection hiding in plain sight, because that's what this coin teaches us, that even among 776 million near-identical copies, something rare can emerge, and when it does, it rewrites the rules of value. 1 coin. 5 cents. Sold $4.132000. And someone, somewhere, might be holding another one right now, without even knowing it. The story of the 1995 nickel doesn't just live in collector vaults and auction houses. It lives in whispers, in conversations between dealers at coin shows, in the low murmur of old men at diner booths trading tales of strange finds, and in the quiet thrill of someone pulling a nickel from their pocket and tilting it toward the light, and for some, that thrill becomes obsession. Meet Leon Winters. A retired railroad technician from Asheville, North Carolina. For most of his life, Leon had no interest in coins. That changed the day he walked into a pawn shop looking for a vintage pocket watch and saw a little sign taped to the counter, "We buy rare nickels, 1995 Ask us why. He asked. The owner, an older man with a magnifying glass dangling from his neck, told him about full steps, high-grade examples, and a recent sale of a 6-figure coin. Leon didn't believe him. But he was intrigued enough to go home and check the bowl of coins he kept on his dresser. There were 2 1995 nickels in it. One was dirty and scratched. The other was unusually clean. Leon didn't have a loupe. So he used the flashlight on his flip phone, and there it was, 5 clear steps. That he mailed it to NGC with shaking hands. MS-67-5FS. It wasn't a jackpot, but it was real. And it changed everything. Leon went all in. He learned grading terminology. Joined coin forums. Started buying bulk nickel rolls from banks and spending his evenings under a magnifying lamp. In 2 years, he found 14 more full steps nickels, 3 of them grading MS-66 or better. He made over $20,000 in private sales and built a small online store selling what he called the forgotten 5 cents. To him, the 1995 wasn't just a nickel, it was redemption. "I spent my life fixing machines," he once said in a podcast. "Now I chase the machine's mistakes." But sometimes the mistakes weren't just mechanical, they were human. There were rumors, never confirmed, of a mint employee in Philadelphia who, in the mid-90s, had a private stash of unusually well-struck nickels. A few former workers said he was obsessed with achieving a perfect press and quietly set aside coins that came closest to his ideal. When he retired, those coins vanished. Some say they were melted. Others claim a few slipped into the market through unofficial channels. One of them may have surfaced in 2019, when a pristine 1995 nickel appeared at a dealer table in Anaheim, California. It was raw. Untouched. Gleaming like a proof, the dealer had no record of where it came from. The coin had no marks, no bag wear, no signs of ever being circulated. It was sent to PCGS.MS69. 6FS deep luster, whispers spread fast. The coin never made it to auction. Instead, it vanished into the private vault of a European billionaire who collects American coinage under pseudonyms. The last confirmed offer for the coin was $148,000, rejected. He told the broker, "There are coins worth more money. But this one has soul." Meanwhile, the 1995 story was beginning to evolve beyond collectors. Social media picked it up. Coin influencers began showing side-by-side comparisons between worn nickels and razor-sharp full steps examples. YouTube channels dedicated entire series to roll hunting for this coin. TikTok users turned discoveries into 30-second dramas, complete with reaction shots and auction slips, and something wild happened. The public started checking their change again, not just collectors, everyone, cashiers, delivery drivers, kids, bartenders, mechanics, people who hadn't thought about coins since their childhoods were now holding every nickel to the light, squinting at Monticello, hoping for the miracle of 5 full steps. There was something democratic about it. The 1995 nickel wasn't rare because it was limited. It wasn't rare because it was gold or silver. It was rare because it asked you to notice the difference between ordinary and exceptional. And in doing so, it gave power back to the people. Anyone with 5 cents and a flashlight could play the game. In Baltimore, a 10-year-old girl named Layla found a full steps nickel in a cup of change her dad kept in the car. They sold it together for $3,800. She used it to buy books, a microscope, and a new winter coat for her younger brother. Her story made the local paper. Her smile made the cover. In Alaska, a fisherman named Theo discovered a double-die variety while counting coins in a bait shop. Graded MS-64, it brought in $5,100, enough to replace his boat engine before the next salmon run. It was just another nickel. Or at least, that's what everyone thought. It clinked into hands across convenience stores in Pittsburgh, slid into vending machines in Ohio, and vanished into the gaps between couch cushions from coast to coast. The 2018 Jefferson Nickel wasn't gold, wasn't ancient, wasn't rare, at first glance. But stories don't care about appearances. They care about what's hidden. And this particular nickel held secrets deeper than most could ever guess. The year was 2018. The Philadelphia Mint, a relentless beast of machines and molten metal, produced nearly 500 million 5-cent pieces. That year, they struck over 570 million nickels bearing the mint mark. The design was familiar, Thomas Jefferson on the obverse, calm and regal, facing forward as he had since 2006. On the reverse, Monticello sat stoic and detailed. Nothing had changed, and yet, something had. No one noticed at first. Why would they? But in January 2019, at a tiny coin show in Harrisburg, a boy named Milo handed a dealer a pocketful of change and asked if anything was cool. He had no idea what he held. The dealer didn't react at first, until he looked at the 2018 nickel under his magnifying lamp. His eyes widened, the coin shimmered unnaturally. Not like normal luster. This was proof-like. Deep, mirrored fields. Razor-sharp details. And most shocking of all, the steps on Monticello were perfect. Not just 5. Not just full. But crisp enough to count every ridge. Every shadow. It was, simply put, flawless. The dealer offered Milo $10 for it. Milo declined. That he had seen something in the man's expression, something that said this was no ordinary find. That he sent it to PCGS.MS69 full steps. Only one had been recorded at that grade. The numismatic community buzzed. How had a coin this pristine, this new, escaped attention? The answer lay in a detail lost in routine, a minor production anomaly that happened early in the year. According to unofficial whispers from within the mint, a batch of specially prepped dies intended for high-quality strike tests had been used briefly in normal circulation runs. The coins were business strikes, but struck so sharply that they bordered on proof. They were dubbed accidental proofs. One of them was Milo's. That coin sold at private auction $4.94000. From that moment, the 2018 nickel was no longer background noise. It was a legend in the making. Collectors across the country emptied jars, busted open rolls, and called local banks for boxes of nickels. Everyone was chasing the next MS-69, the next full steps miracle. YouTube exploded with videos of roll hunts. TikTok saw a spike in change-checking challenges. Suddenly, everyone wanted to be the next Milo, and many got close. A man in Seattle found an off-center 2018 nickel with a dramatic shift in design placement, enough to leave Jefferson's nose on the coin's very edge. It sold $4.6000. A woman in Louisiana discovered a double-die reverse, with doubling visible in the Monticello text and the steps beneath. Her coin, graded MS66 DDR001, brought $3,800. Then there was the forgotten hoard. In a federal storage facility in Philadelphia, a shipment of unopened 2018 mint rolls was misrouted and placed in long-term overflow inventory. The error wasn't discovered until 2022, when the building was being cleared ahead of renovations. What they found was astonishing. 10 bricks of untouched, Burley Run 2018 Nickels, each roll was sealed. Mint fresh. Never circulated, collectors whispered of die state 0 coins, first strikes from brand new dies, the kind that might reach MS69 or higher if handled properly. When these rolls reached the open market, bidding wars erupted. One roll sold for $18,000, unopened, and that's when the registry wars began. High-stakes collectors began a quiet arms race to complete the perfect 2018 set. Not just high grades, but top pops. PCGS and NGC both saw spikes in submissions. Coins came in raw, in tubes, in velvet pouches, even taped to birthday cards from grandmas who'd been told to check for weird nickels. The pop reports told the tale. MS66. Common. MS67 full steps. Tough. MS68. Scarce. MS69 full steps. Near mythical, only 3 ever confirmed, and yet the value kept growing, not just because of rarity, but because of story. Because every coin had a face behind it. A person who noticed what others didn't. A student who saw more than just 5 cents. A veteran who rolled coins for therapy and found a miracle. A mom who needed gas money and instead found a treasure. In Alabama, a high school janitor named Warren found a near-perfect 2018 in a stack of vending machine change. Graded MS68 full steps, it sold for $14,000. He used the money to pay off his truck and build a workshop in his backyard. In Utah, a 9-year-old girl submitted her own 2018 to a grading company. She'd pulled it from her lunch money. It came back MS67 FS and later brought her $3,900, which she donated to animal rescue charities, and then came the auction. In 2025, Heritage hosted what became known as the Modern Miracle Sale. Among Morgan dollars and colonial silver, one lot stood out, a 2018 5 cents coin, PCGS graded MS69 plus FS, with cameo-like frost and perfectly struck features. It was one of a kind. Bidding began cautiously. Then accelerated. When the final hammer fell, the room gasped. $128,000. A 5-cent coin. From just a few years ago. Worth more than a Porsche, the buyer was anonymous. Rumors swirled. Some said it went to a Middle Eastern prince obsessed with modern U.S. coinage. Others claimed it was bought by a Silicon Valley CEO looking to build a futuristic coin museum in the metaverse. Whatever the truth, the coin was gone, locked away. A legend sealed, and yet the story isn't over. Because the 2018 nickel is still out there. Millions of them. Most worth 5 cents. But a few worth far more. And the only thing standing between value and obscurity is a curious eye. A slow tilt under the right light. A moment where ordinary becomes extraordinary. Maybe that's why this coin has captured so many hearts, because in a world rushing toward the future, it reminds us that sometimes, the past 5 years hold more treasure than the last 5 decades. That perfection can still slip through the cracks. That a mistake, just one mistake, at the mint, can become someone else's miracle, and maybe, just maybe, your miracle is waiting for you at the bottom of your change. It wasn't long before the 2018 Jefferson Nickel was no longer just a curiosity in collector circles. It became a battlefield. There's a quiet war that happens behind the scenes in the world of modern coin collecting, a war not fought with guns or politics, but with loop lenses, submission fees, and microscopic detail. It's the war for the registry top spot. In that war, the 2018 wasn't just another coin, it was a kingmaker. The top-tier registry collectors knew that only a handful of MS69 full steps examples existed. Each one was a potential golden ticket to push a set into number 1 position. And when you reach number 1, you don't just earn bragging rights, you attract offers, investors, sometimes even museum acquisitions. Prestige becomes currency. And the 2018 P became the coin that could tip the scales. One such collector was Evelyn Hart. By day, she was a retired forensic linguist from Maryland. By night, she ran one of the most meticulously curated modern U.S. nickel registries in the world. Her 2005 to 2020 Jefferson set was nearly flawless, except for one gap, a top-grade 2018 P. For 3 years, she bid on every high-grade example she could find. Lost 2 in the final seconds. Came second in a sealed offer war for the MS-69 Plus that later sold for $128,000. She was obsessed, but not unwise. In early 2025, Evelyn did something few collectors would consider. She bought 1,000 sealed 2018 mint rolls, straight from a forgotten overstock in a Midwestern warehouse. She paid $70,000 for them, then she hired a team. 3 numismatists, 2 assistants, and 1 professional grader worked with her around the clock. Each coin was opened, handled with gloves, photographed, catalogued, and scored. It took 5 months. They found 5 MS-68 FS coins, 2 MS-68 Plus FS, and 1.1 nickel that made the entire team go silent. The steps. The luster. The absolute absence of any visible flaw. It went to PCGS, returned as MS-69 FS. Gem Plus, designator, estimated market value? $135,000. She never sold it. She framed the certification, registered her set, and claimed the #1 spot on the Jefferson Modern Registry, ending a 5-year feud with a rival from Singapore who immediately offered to buy the coin for $180,000. She declined. When asked why, she replied, "Some things you don't sell." Some coins are the exclamation point at the end of a lifetime of patience. But the story was far from over. In 2026, a Freedom of Information Act request revealed an internal report from the U.S. Mint, dated May 2018. It discussed a brief period of over-polished reverse dyes used in Philadelphia. The polishing created unnaturally strong step definitions on Monticello, some so detailed, they resembled early 2000s proof reverses. The dyes weren't faulty. They were too good. The report concluded that around 150,000 nickels may have been struck using these dyes before they were retired. The majority of them unaccounted for. Mixed into circulation. Suddenly, the mystery had context. There wasn't just a chance of finding one of these elite coins in the wild, there was a map. Collectors narrowed their search to regions served by certain Federal Reserve banks. Data analysts used online coin submission databases to track clusters of higher-graded 2018 PS, identifying hotspots across Pennsylvania, Ohio, and western New York. Coin tourism was born. People started traveling to small towns with bank branches rumored to still have 2018 rolls. They hosted nickel hunts at community centers, filmed documentaries,